anything.
Just those 5 words in the language arts division.
Right. There's no reference to that anywhere in Dr. Simpson's comments.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of the motion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
1, 2.
And the motion passes. Thank you, Pat.
And it is posted right now. I will take it down, strike that, and put it back up.
Yeah, I mean, and I've gone through Roberts, and it's really unclear. You can do this, but whether you have to do it by striking it because we did adopt that, but it can be clarified in the later one. It's really hard to tell.
I mean, it'll be written up in this one,
Right.
and then say that, I'll actually say that it was changed in
Right.
some way like that, so we have some kind of reference to it.
Exactly.
I like that. Then it'll be in this one that people will read the change.
Right.
Okay.
And you could even put an annotation in the other one if you wanted to, but it wouldn't be necessary. But I'm not sure I would want to strike.
Yeah, I'd rather keep that as
As the way it
pristine as it
was.
was, and then have
Exactly.
this explained.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
Are there any other changes, clarifications about our minutes?
Brian, there's a typo in paragraph I. It just says towards the end, going
I'm sorry,
forward.
which page? I apologize.
Which page? Page 4.
Okay.
It just says going forward, there. I think you meant
Oh, yeah, okay.
there are.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any others? Yes.
The United Faculty, where I talked, everyone should attend the next Board of Trustees meeting.
United Faculty Report.
B.
What page is that?
Page 2B.
Okay, Board of Trustees?
Yes.
Okay.
Any others?
There is one that was given to me, actually. I mentioned that something had already passed and it hasn't, and I will take care of that. It's actually the luncheon, the classified appreciation luncheon is the April 24th, not was. Becky gave me that, and I will make that correction as well.
Good. Okay, seeing no others, is there a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So,
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Okay, we're moving on. Public commentary. Is there anyone here to speak to public commentary? See none, we're going to move on now to faculty announcements and invitations. Brian.
I just have 2. One is...
Hold on, let me get my thing set up here. You only get 2 minutes.
Something that I was actually talking to Mark about. I just want to actually commend George Isaacs in computing. Has helped Mark and I tremendously recently with the things that we have had. And we can't do our jobs without the support that they get. It's amazing how quickly they do that. The second thing, I'm sorry that the rest of them aren't here, so you can pass it along, but I want to thank the adjunct senators for the job they're doing. They got some criticism recently, and their response to that criticism was to double their efforts to try to make contact with the adjunct faculty members. And as a person who was an adjunct faculty member here for 13 or 14 years, we never had that kind of support and representation, so I just want to give you guys some kudos for that.
Very cool. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to faculty announcements and invitations? Yes.
So just a reminder, my talk in Humanities 131 is a week from today. I have additional flyers if you guys want them afterwards. Oh, there you go. So should be a good crowd. I'm expecting some good questions. I know our forensic anthropology students are going to be there, and I would expect them to give me some good questions. So.
It sounds really interesting, Greg, I got to tell you.
It's from 2 to 3 in Humanities 131. The talk itself should be about 45 minutes, and then I'm allowing 20 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Mark.
Jim and I, our theater dance department has a production final weekend of Midsummer Night's Dream. And it's Friday, Saturday night at 8, it's Sunday at 4. It's a lot of fun. The show runs fast. That'll make you, some people think Shakespeare, oh my God, it's going to be 3 hours. It runs about 2 hours and 10 minutes at most with intermission. The kids are having a lot of fun. And it's just such a tough assignment to chase someone you're in love with around the forest. Tough assignment to do those kids. Yeah, studio theater. Yeah, huh? It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you'll see it. It's quite amazing. Yeah, love up close. love and broken hearts up close. Jim, sir.
I have a bad back, so if you see me squirm around or stand up, it is not to the content of what we're speaking to. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's just me being old. Any other faculty announcements? Invitations? We're moving on now to special reports. You get 3 minutes per report. Associated students.
Yes, sir, thank you. I want to thank you all for showing up for World Fest, which was held Wednesday, April the 15th. You all came to eat the different nationalities of food. We had a great turnout today for Sex Day. I mean, it was huge. Or was that yesterday? Excuse me, I'm just carrying over, excuse me. Yesterday, for Sex Day, it was a huge turnout. We appreciate you. We're actually having we're running through our elections for this coming up semester, and whereas I will no longer be the vice president of student organizations, I'm running for the president of AS, but I intend to still show up for these meetings. I just want you to know, because I love you all. Also, on next week, the Twyla is a community event where they're tearing down Twyla Reed Park in 3 days, and that's April 29th, April 30th, and May 1st. They just need volunteers. They reached out to Cypress College for students, but I'm sure they will take bodies, just anybody that would come and help them tear it down. And on Saturday, they're building up a brand new park in 1 day. You're gonna have like 600 Disneyland employees, and they're asking for 100 volunteers to join them to do that. They will feed you breakfast and lunch. I forgot to bring the flyer, but I can email it to you, because for you to register, it's online, and they'll take care of you once you get there, but they're feeding you breakfast and lunch for that particular event. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I actually think I may have wrote that up wrong for the last minutes.
Okay.
So that day that they're building it all is also the dedication day that they're
Yes,
doing on
everything
Saturday?
in 1 day, yes, sir.
And then the first
The
there's
first 3
that
days,
lead
they're
up to
tearing
that.
everything
And
down.
then, so they need help tearing it down
Yeah,
and building
they
it
need
up?
help tearing it down,
Okay.
and then that last day is the whole group
Okay,
of
great. Thank you.
everybody coming out to
Thank
build
you,
it up.
Tanya.
Yes, sir.
Email the flyer.
Yes.
To Brian.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And that way he'll have your email address
You know you're so
accurately.
smart. God bless you.
So-
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
United Faculty. Is anyone here representing United Faculty?
I'll represent.
Yes.
We're still in negotiations. We hope to come back with something to you guys soon. And that's all I can say about that.
Oh, I want to hear more.
That's all I can say about that.
Anything else? Thank you. Staff development. Peggy?
We have the end of the year luau coming up on May 6th. So you should have received an email invitation. You do need to RSVP by April 29th. So, and tomorrow is our classified appreciation lunch, and our last funding cycle for conference funding closed on the 17th, but our committee won't be able to review things until May 11th. So tell your constituents it could be just a little bit of time before they hear. Most of the applications we got were for summer conferences, but we can carry over funds. Yes.
I apologize, I will change you to professional development.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna, thank you. I hear from Karen Kant that it's a huge deal to change your name because every publication that the campus, so it was a clever idea, so it'll probably take us years to actually clean it up, but.
The process is going to be that we are going to go and be looking at this today, later on in our meeting.
No, we already switched the name change.
Well, we switched
It
to
has to go to
professional development, but I believe it actually has to go to
It has
PAC.
to go to PAC.
And
It's
so-
not official until PAC confirms it.
So you're gonna see that you're just gonna get stuff from all kinds of names and people
Well, so then
and
I should
whatever.
not change this.
Do not change it.
Then
I
guess
until it
not.
becomes official.
That
Okay.
is correct.
Yeah.
Then I wasn't thinking this. I take that.
Hey, I'm not offended either way. That's
Appreciate
it.
your hard work, Deb.
Yeah.
Anything else, Peggy?
No, that takes care of it.
Mark, you are up.
I think we're just barreling along. There's 2 agenda items later in our agenda that will reflect some or part of what we do, but we're barreling along and we're moving to tech review of courses that were submitted in this fast timeline. So that's what we're doing. And that's it.
Thank you, Mark. Lori, treasurer's report.
No report.
Thank you, Lori. Cypress College Foundation. Who's speaking for Lynn? Hi.
I'm Lynn now.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. May 1st is the deadline for submitting a mini grant application, $500 or less. May 11th is the scholarship award ceremony, of which we just decided to make the choices. These are just reminders. If anyone has any questions about the mini grant, they can email Raul Alvarez at the foundation office. That's my completed report.
You had a question, Glenn?
I do.
Maybe I misheard you, the May 11th, that's for the student scholarships, isn't it?
That is correct.
I thought you said the award you did here.
Well, I don't know. She just said it's a scholarship
I think it's
awards
okay.
ceremony. So I may have misspoke. I just kind of assumed that it was this same
I
thing.
believe it's when the foundation invites all the students, and then the faculty who nominated them or a division could show up, present it to them on stage. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I didn't attend, but people who did attend told me last year it was a good event.
This is fun, it's good.
Yeah.
It's sweet, the parents come, that's fun.
And they cry.
Yes,
Oh, man.
we're not.
Basic Skills Committee, Cindy Schapp?
Yeah, Cindy, I saw her yesterday, and their meeting, she says, right now, no report. Next time, she'll have something.
Student Learning Outcomes, Sarah.
Yes, I have a couple things. I gave a presentation and led a small group discussion at the leadership meeting last Friday on the 17th of April. And that went well, I think. The job description for the additional SLO support will be out very soon, so be looking for that. And the committee is establishing its mission and list of responsibilities, so I hope at the next Senate meeting to share a draft, or what we will consider a final draft for you to approve at that time.
No problem. Thank you, Sarah. Program Review and Planning, Kathleen.
No report, thank you.
Thank you. District Council Jolene did not send me anything on that. So with that, we're now done with special reports, going into the President's report, and we are going to go and talk about faculty awards first. Let's start first with our Adjunct Committee. Who's speaking for the Adjunct Committee?
Question,
Yes, sir.
should this be filmed?
I believe so.
That's okay.
It's okay? So the awardees will
We'll
hear
know
via
ahead of
the
time.
internet version
Yes.
rather than academic senate?
That was the question I asked earlier about that.
I mean, if this is gonna go out live, then everyone's gonna know.
Yeah,
who it
it's
is.
not gonna be a surprise.
That is true. The vote of this has to be public.
Yeah. The vote has to be public, and Jolena would be sending out an email tomorrow to all.
So then the gag
People
order
anyway.
is kind of moot, right? For us to not
Yeah.
talk about it, everyone's gonna already know.
You can't
So
talk
We-
about
well,
what
but-
it's
No, no, let me interrupt.
Audience.
What we're doing is, we're not talking about the people that were not selected.
Gotcha.
Or any of the.
Yeah. You know, or the discussion, or the deliberations, things like that.
So it's
We
a
want to
okay
show
for
courtesy,
gay.
and we want to show empathy to all nominees. We don't want to have anybody's feelings hurt. At the same time, yes, we want to know who the committee has selected.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi.
So our committee selected Emma Anton. We particularly liked all of the specifics that were included in her letters that she received, including making a Play-Doh 3D anatomy so that students could understand the relationship of blood vessels to the organs. We like the fact that she's known as the World Book because she knows everything. So even our affiliated hospitals will ask her to provide training to their employees for vascular scanning. She goes the extra mile. She takes the students to UCI for the cadaver training, to view the cadavers. And this I found particularly visual, but she will get her hands right into the body with gloves on, of course, and pulls out the organs so the students can really see this up close.
Always want to do that in class.
Yeah. She has helped expand the programs, including the Doppler techniques. She's developed 2 elective courses with breast and vascular imaging. She's since she's been on board teaching the DMS program, the students have had extremely high pass rates, 95 to 100%, on the American Registry of Diagnostic Medical Sonography, and in all areas, including abdomen, OB/GYN, sonography, physics. So just to understand, the national pass rate is 75%. So our students are doing remarkably good. And she comes highly recommended, so we would like to commend Emma for that position.
Kathleen, thank you so much. And thank the committee so much. I appreciate it. Who's speaking for the full-time outstanding faculty member of the year? No, I think we do all three of them separately. I mean, together, right? Okay. We do a motion all three together.
You can do it either way,
Yeah,
but
we'll do that.
typically we've always done.
Yeah. Full-time.
That's me.
Hi.
And we actually had, our selection was unanimous. Every single one of us had the same number one. Wow. So that's pretty strong endorsement. And our nomination is Dee Sato from the biology department. And you know, I could probably talk for an hour about what she does, but she hit every one of our criteria for the award. She massively hits that criteria. And the letter of recommendation that came in, she was recognized by the entire department, signed it. Oh. Wow. The entire biology department throwing their weight behind believing in her recommendation. She's authored an extensive lab manual for the Biology 210 class, which combines anatomy and physiology, as well as she's essentially created a textbook with her extensive class notes. She has a vibrant Blackboard site as well as a website that she finances and takes care of all herself. Was instrumental in creating the biology study room, which we now have on the 3rd floor of SEM, where students can interact with their own professor as well as other professors. She has great rapport with her students and you know, really dynamic lecturer, as well as being an inspiring and participative member of our division.
Lori, thank you so much. I want to thank the committee as well. Who's speaking for the Charger Award?
I am.
Real quick, before the committee speaks, for the whole room, the Charger Award is for work outside of the classroom. And it's pretty unique in that. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, we were so absolutely impressed with the pool of applicants. We had no idea, at least a lot of us didn't know all the stuff that people do outside of their job. It's amazing what people do outside of their regular job here. So just really impressed with all the candidates. Ultimately, we selected Peter Matthews for the award, and it was based on the fact that he's just written a book last year, timely publication. It's about money in politics. He's doing town halls, he's been on radio, he's been on TV, about the book, but also about other issues over the years, promoting the college. He run for elected office, done so many things outside of school. And then on top of that, I mean, I know it's all about what he does outside of school, but has great letters of recommendation. Students love him. He just did a town hall Tuesday. The room was packed. The lecture hall was packed. Humanities 131 was, people had to sit in the in the steps. So anyway, we were real impressed with all the candidates, but we selected Peter. Super impressed with what Peter's done outside of school.
I like that. Thank you. And I thank your committee. We now have 3 names. I'd like a motion to accept Emma Anton as our adjunct of the year, Dee Sato as our full-time outstanding faculty of the year, Peter Matthews as our charger of the year.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Good job, Senate.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
It's piggybacking on what Keith said, because we were so impressed by everybody. All of the people who we were looking at, they're going to receive something from us that acknowledges that they were being considered. Is that correct?
Typically, yeah.
Even if it's just an email saying that was the case?
I think the last time I did it was, 3 years ago. I did it, I put it on a Charger letterhead, Cypress letterhead. I sent them a letter saying you were nominated, and I made a nice paragraph out of it,
I have certificate things if you want to, so you can use
I like the idea. Maybe I got certificate paper. Yeah, we did. That'd be nice. I like that.
Good.
It's like what EOPS does.
Right.
Yeah, very cool. I like that. Okay, moving on. PBC, the main charge that they have been selected to work on for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks? 3 weeks was the interviewing of a master planner architectural firm to go and work with the school with our Measure J money and possibly now some state money for the remodeling of our campuses, Fullerton and Cypress. And we finished the last of the interviews today, and I believe there will be an announcement coming from Karen Kant soon on the architectural firm that has been chosen. I think it has to go to PAC for affirmation first.
Dr. Simpson's got to sign up.
Yeah, so, but I gotta tell you, Brian and I attended all of them. We were just blown away. There are 5 of them. I learned more about architecture than I've ever known in my entire life. And there's some exciting concepts that are being brought to our campus. I was really, that's probably the most fun thing I've participated in a long time. So
They've got some incredible visions for spaces for people to collide and things like that are pretty cool.
Yeah. Same thing in PAC. Basically, we just talked about architectural interviews there, and they talked about in PAC, our enrollment rate has gone down a bit, so we're spiking our summer up. We're going to have a few more classes. It's a statewide trend. It's not unique to us whatsoever. And they said President Simpson felt very comfortable with our enrollments. The sign we talked about in PAC and PBC. There was a problem with the subcontractor that was charged with putting the facade on the sign, and they Karen was just going crazy pulling her hair. Vice President Kant was having a lot of trouble with this subcontractor, and I noticed that they started finally yesterday doing the work that they were supposed to have started months ago. And we think it's going to be finished tomorrow, but I got no vote in this game.
I actually think when we leave here, it might be done.
Yeah, right.
And lit up.
But I got to tell you, I looked over the fence yesterday, and there's a concrete base around this sign with our letters in blue that says Cypress College on each side. And I found out today they'll light up at night. It's going to be a beautiful foundation. We also saw during one of the architectural interviews, they took a drone and brought Cypress College to take a look at our school from there. And we saw pictures of the sign that we've never seen before, the whole structure. It's going to be pretty exciting. I think we'll all be proud of it. I have not attended a board meeting this year, but Brian, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to say anything about that?
Our new board member, Jacqueline Rodarte, was officially sworn in. She has a really interesting story. What I thought was actually kind of cool is that she actually participated in Kinder Caminata at Fullerton College when she was in kindergarten. And one of the first things she was going to be doing was going to Kinder Caminata at Fullerton as a board member last Friday, so that was kind of cool. And it was a great thing to see all the people show up from the faculty to support the comparability issue. And it was something actually that also was mentioned in PAC, that President Simpson was very struck by the cordial nature of it, and how it was a really good showing. It wasn't confrontational at all. Thanking the board for their commitment to comparability. It actually went off pretty well, I thought. And other than that, there really wasn't much else that was out of the ordinary talked about.
He shared, though, that because of the collegial nature of the faculty representation at the board meeting, he felt that would go and have a strong to the, it's one Monday a month.
Yeah.
It's 1 day a month, and this is where you're helping the statisticians of each campus. All right. You're helping the statisticians of each campus design how the report will look and feel as it goes out to the public. We're not doing the numbers. We're doing what numbers to choose, how will the numbers be displayed, things like that. And at first I thought it would be the biggest waste of time when I first sat on the committee last year. And instead I went, wow, this is pretty cool, because this is how the world perceives us. So is there anybody who would like to sit on this committee? Mondays at 2, once a month.
I think I already sent a note to Jolene and saying I would do.
Very cool.
We've been waiting to get that one.
Next.
No, of course.
District Technology Committee. This is like our Campus Technology Committee, very similar, except it's at the district level, and it's where you get to help choose the technology that we will be adopting in the future. You have to go and choose standardizations for technology, so when you go into a classroom, everything looks the same, like we have now, like on many of our classrooms on campus. It is also where you talk about what will be some of the limitations or rules or protocols for technology on campus for students and staff. If you're a techno person like me, it's really a fun committee. I was on it for, I don't know, 6, 7 years. I was on the district campus technology committee for 10 years. I mean, it's a blast if you like technology. Anybody want to go and volunteer for that? I have no idea when it meets, but I can find out for you.
I think I sent my name forward for that.
Very cool, Lynn.
Did you send Lynn's or yours?
Thank you. I sure appreciate that. Okay, Educational Master Plan Task Force.
She actually wanted to roll that over till the next
We're
meeting.
going to roll that over till the next meeting. Okay. At the end of our school year, at the end of graduation, we have a graduation party. And this year we're having one, whose house was it again? Cherie Dickey, who's hosted it not hosted it. She's provided her place many times in the past, and it is like the perfect house because it's so close to here. She has a wonderful backyard that's just perfect for seating and talking and having a get-together. But it takes a little bit of dollars to go and get some money for refreshments and ice and paper goods, things like that. And so she asked me to go and to do a donation. Flip around, and it says my name on it because I'm going to take all this money home. No. If you got anything you can throw in this envelope, we sure appreciate it. Let me start going this way. We'll use that for buy some food. Usually we try to buy some food from our own culinary department. They give us a great deal and they make great food because these are students, you know, and I've always been impressed by their work.
They do a great job delivering it, setting it all up, doing all of that, and making sure everything's just on time for us. So they've been really good. And let me just add, I'm pretty sure that because some people probably forgot to bring any money today, if you just send it to Cherie.
We'll also collect it next time too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then a lot of times what people do is they bring something with them when they come. I know, like every time I go, I just bring a bottle of wine with me, you know, and
just for you.
That's why I just said that, didn't I?
And then he takes the bottle that I brought too.
Pat brings good wine. So it's just it's common that, you know, we show up, we just bring a bottle, and there's no like pecking order. You know, Bob Simpson. Yeah, and Bob Simpson holds no more role at this party than than I will. It's very very equal here. It's a fun party. So okay, I'm going to remind you that we're going to be having Senate elections coming up soon. Many of us are retiring out of the Senate. Brian, you want to read that list?
Oh, well, terms that are up. You're retiring, apparently.
I am.
Okay.
I'm not running to go and be on the Senate again. I'm going to take a little time off.
It's all the people who were elected as division senators before. So it's Jesse, Kathleen, the Renee Sonsalo, Jim, Jane Walker, Sarah. Yes, and me, and that's it. Those 9.
If you would like to run again, you're certainly invited. Tell your division that you would like to during your division meeting. If you don't want to run again, make sure you tell your division so they can start finding somebody to go and elect other than you. We don't want to have holes when come next year. Now, Brian, when are we doing the elections in here? The meeting after next?
It'll be the last. It's going to be the last meeting. So it'll be the 22nd or whatever that is.
Okay, Jesse.
We had a discussion last time. There was going to be a limit to how many times you run. Are we under that limit now?
Yes.
So if we were
Technically, if you have served already 3 consecutive 2-year terms, you would be termed out.
unless you were one of the executive officers during that time.
Or, unless you use what we had created as the Jesse Saldana exception, if your division absolutely finds nobody else, they can elect you again. The idea is to try to force a rotation if possible.
When do we do the election?
The divisions need to do their elections before the end of the year.
Yeah,
Their last division, meeting of the year is usually when it's done.
And this should have been told to you a month and a half ago.
So your last division meeting of the year, you should elect your representatives.
There's no people come in the last.
The last session is split in two. The new senators will be seated.
Which is next meeting?
No, we have one in the last,
No, schools now.
that last week is the third week, and we have a meeting scheduled that last week.
No, aren't we second and fourth?
There were second and fourth, we have a meeting on the 14th.
Oh, we're second, okay.
So we don't have a.
So we have one more meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be next meeting.
Okay, so the next, let me interrupt.
Let's go. I actually thought we had one more.
The last meeting in here, which I hear is the next meeting, you will need to elect in here an incoming president. You will need to elect a secretary, a treasurer.
That's
and then that's you're different. Okay. Right. So got it. So you're in here. So think about if you'd like to run for incoming president. There you go. That means that you'll be incoming for 1 school year. You'll be president for 2 years. You'll be past president for 1 year. It's a 4-year commitment. If you run for secretary, it's a 1-year commitment. If you run for treasurer, it's a 1-year commitment. Okay, so think about, and you generate self-nomination. You nominate yourself for that, and then it will be an open vote in here. No longer will we be doing these secret ballots like we used to in the past. We've been told we can't do those anymore. So it will be an open vote in here. And somebody has to figure out how to do that between now and then, huh?
No, we just make it up when we do it.
No, I mean, like, do we do paper? Do we do hands up? Do you have an idea of that, Mr. Secretary?
It is actually is a public vote where your vote is recorded.
So like a hand up or a voice, I vote for Henrietta Horgemeyer?
That he calls them off, then use the list would be the
You do a roll call.
Yeah, you do a roll
call
call.
vote.
You do a roll call.
You'll have that
So
for me next
that
time?
way you can just
I have
nominate
worded.
like that.
Good.
You
Good.
do it fast.
We'll be doing a roll call vote for each of those positions next meeting. With that, we're moving on to page 2 of our, yes, Pat?
Actually, I think we can move on to page 2, because I thought Jolena might be mentioning this at this point anyway, but we absolutely have to attend to it today, given our fact that we have only one more meeting. Professors Emeritus, I don't know what Mark's deadline is for that program, but I know it's early in May, and we may not be meeting again after that.
And she actually just sent out an email about that for us,
Pardon?
too.
She did mention it, yeah. That's why I thought it would come up here.
Asking for people that, do we know what the list is yet?
I can tell you our division who they are, and I'm hoping every other division can do that, or, because we need to vote on that to get that information into Mark.
Because he needs that for the program.
Right.
And he needs that for certificates, and, yeah, so, let's start now with language arts.
Language Arts has 3 retirees, Hong Chi, Kathy Franklin, and Kathy Llanos.
How do you spell Yongchi?
Hong Chi, Hongchi.
And then who's next?
Kathy Franklin.
Kathy Llanos.
That's Kathy with a C.
Kathy with a C and then Kathy
And
Llanos.
then Kathy Llanos with a K.
I had that.
Good. Is there any other divisions here who can also speak up to their retirees?
I know two.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, Health Sciences had Shirley Ashburn. And what was
Oh, wait, I'm a slow writer from old. Ash.
and Rosalie Majid.
Rosalie Mahee
Oh.
and Laura Greco.
Yeah, and Laura Greco.
How do you spell Greco?
No,
G-R-E-K-O?
G-R-E-I-C-O.
E-I-C-O. Good.
I think it's E-I.
Okay. Is there any other divisions that can speak up to professors are retiring.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if he wants to announce, but yes, Michael Johnson from Fine Arts.
Really? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't like hearing that.
Well, Julie Matlow said it.
I hope I was supposed to say it, but anyway.
I mean,
he's retired.
Oh, well.
There's a lot of Michael Johnson. It could be another Michael Johnson.
But his brother, the photography department, is staying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Michael Johnson. Anybody else in Fine Arts?
Happy
How's Joe doing?
I don't want to be.
Real quick, how's Joe doing?
Joe, I saw him and I was pleased to see that he was mending. He's wearing, back support, and he said he felt great. I was worried about it, but he looks much better. And Jim has seen him in.
No, we've been in hiring committees.
He's
two
there,
hiring
isn't he?
committees. Yeah, he's there.
He looks better, doesn't he?
Well, yeah. But
Okay, moving on. Is there any other?
Don't get Jim and I talking about
Let me interrupt. Are there any other divisions that have retirees that you would like to go and nominate for Professor Emeritus? Seeing none, I would like a motion. Oh, Jesse.
I just would like to comment, do this, but if anybody knows of somebody maybe can forward it to Gary, even though it might be a little late, we might try to do it again next time.
Yeah, we can't do it by email anymore like we used to. Okay, I'd like a motion to offer the award of Professor Emeritus to Hong Chi, Kathy Franklin, Kathy Llanos, Shirley Ashburn, Rosalie Majid, Laura Greco, and Michael Johnson.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So there's times that we go and make these votes by affirmation. Would this be one of those times you might want to consider?
Yes, for unanimous consent.
I'd like to ask for unanimous consent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm probably going to be the only person that ever gets voted no on it, so.
What was your name again? Okay. I'm on page 2, faculty issues unfinished business, distance education coordinator position. The subcommittee will provide an update on their work.
Did you forget graduation reading for commencement?
Oh, I did very,
Thank you.
thank you, Tanya. Okay. I'm going to read you what Jolene has sent me. We need to pick 2 faculty members to serve as readers of graduation. These are the people that stand at either end of the podium, and their tongues work magically because they can say any student's name that comes before them, no matter what ethnicity they're from. How they do it, I have no idea.
Jim Hormel.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 people that have volunteered, and the order I'm reading them to you are the order that they responded to Jolena in. Okay? She thought that was important. She says the names are listed in the order they were received. I would hope that the Senate would consider giving preference to those who have not served before. Those are her words, not mine. I have Michael Frianza from Health Science. Joel, is it Gober? How's your last name, Joel? Gober, thank you. From SEM. Mark Majurian from Fine Arts. Ambika Telwar from Language Arts. And Carol Lewis from Social Sciences.
Can I ask you?
Yes.
I know she said that we would prefer people who hadn't done it before, which I guess makes sense. I am concerned about what you said, though. I mean, they have a history of being able to do it and do it fairly well. I know Carol has done it in the past, but I'm wondering if that is something that we should hold to, or if we should think about that a little bit more.
Is she the only one that has done it before?
I know Carol has. I'm not sure if who the other people were.
I believe that she's the only one of those 5 who have done it before.
And it may not be an issue. I don't. We just talked about it. Yes.
Pat.
Yeah, I guess for me, the issue would be that I'm kind of assuming that those people who are putting their names forward kind of understand what it is that they're in for on this. At least that's my hope, that they've given the thought enough to it to say, yeah, I can handle that.
That's a very good point.
At least, so I'm willing to take that chance.
And I am completely too. That's why I just wanted to talk about that, because I would
I
actually.
think it is a concern.
Right, I would actually prefer rotating people in just to give more people the opportunity to do it, but I wasn't sure if it was an issue that needed.
And I think it's wonderful because for years, either Kathy Llanos and Carol Lewis did it because they both did a great job, and then Liana Capel stepped in on occasions when they couldn't do it. But we didn't have other nominee people wanted to do it, and I think it's great that we do.
Right.
When I was president, I know it meant a lot to me when I saw emails come in. I put a call out, and the order the emails came in meant a lot to me. Who came in first, who came in second is generally who I would then ask the Senate to be able to nominate. It really is Jolina's purveyance to go and say who she wants, and then it's 2/3 majority of the Senate to overrule her. She, during her entire time as president, though, has always turned to you asking for your support on this before she makes her nomination. With that said, would there be a motion to accept Michael and Joel as our graduation readers?
So moved.
Mark?
I move.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Discussion. Joel?
Oh, Ron.
Oh, Ron, I'm sorry, I saw the hand up
I
there.
like what you said, but I'd like you to also add alternates in case they get some kind of laryngitis at the last minute.
Okay.
If the alternates would be ready to be called in.
Call that stage fright.
Okay, so how about, Ron, I like your idea a lot, so how about after we get done with this motion, whatever way it goes, when we're done picking the two, whoever they are, then we also then have maybe another motion to pick two more as alternates. I love your idea, sir.
I actually would say perhaps talk to the remaining 3 people to see if any of them would be available if there is. I kind of hate to see us pick 2 alternates and then the one person who volunteered is totally left out on it. And then we might run into the same situation even with the alternate. I just say, we appreciate your interest. Would you be available if something happens after this? And then they might or might not be or something, and I think it's an easier way to go.
I like that, Pat, thank you. Other discussion?
Let's just ask all 3 to be alternates, right?
That's what she's saying. But we're not there yet. We have a motion for Michael and Joel. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Abstention. We have our graduation speakers. Thank you. So I have a motion on the floor.
I move to contact the other 3 to see if they will be available for alternates.
Okay, can I encourage you to reword that motion a bit?
Sure, you can, yes.
Okay.
I can do it in German.
Oh, you can? That's pretty cool.
How would you like it to be phrased?
I would think that we move to go and accept the remaining 3 as we've got our alternates. Okay. Tanya, thank you. I sure appreciate that. Okay. Emailed you last night the professional development coordinator selection process with the changes that were discussed at our last Senate meeting. And I'm going to ask for a motion to accept this so that we can then take it to PAC and get PAC to affirm this, and then we can come back next meeting and you will have it. You'll be the professional. So, is there such a motion, or would you like to go instead and make other changes?
Well, I move to accept it as is.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Discussion. Yes?
There may be some language changing. I was told that maybe it wasn't written perfectly.
It's the Appendix 1 guidelines for ballot elections to the Senate. How are we dealing with this? Because previously it had also been every division was in charge of its own elections, and some elected at division meetings, some had other elections. This one spells something out very definitively. So is the Senate going to be taking any action on this to adopt this? And if so, when? Because that will affect upcoming elections. Yeah, you know,
We
so.
do say April. We do say April that that the senators will be elected.
Right, but this appendix 1 that I'm looking at, and again, I'm not sure in what connection, gives very specific directions.
What is the appendix 1, the election stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, that election stuff is actually to be looked at more. That's not what we actually just voted on.
Okay.
That's a second part of that. So that is not what we just approved.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
But you're right that it does talk about how we're going to
do it, and so I'm wondering when we're talking about this going into effect, because if we don't adopt it right now, then that affects the elections, or are we saying the elections can proceed without these specific guidelines right now? I just think it needs to be clarified so that the issue doesn't come up, your election was illegitimate.
Jesse?
I just would sort of piggybacking on her thought. If I'm gonna hold an election next week, I'd like to know what the guidelines are. If they're the ones we currently have, that's fine. I just wanna know, what are they?
What do you mean by guidelines? How we're going to
How
vote?
we have to.
How divisions will
I'm
elect
talking
their
about division
representatives.
votes. How do you have to call for nominations? Who runs the vote?
However your division determines this, is how you're going to do it. Is the way that should always have been.
Yeah, that is.
It's the way
this
that.
could be very different, that's why I'm asking.
And divisions are responsible for electing their senators in the way that they choose fit. If they want to have a caucus, they want to have a vote, they want to have whatever. You want to have a trial by fire, you can have that.
Hold on, let me interrupt.
A department meeting, I think, before the next one, that's what I would do.
Yes.
So Pat, you're saying that there is a proposed guideline that has not been voted on that would change, or what does it do?
Well, right now, it's always been that each division decides how it's going to conduct an election. This set of guidelines is very different and is very
Is it specifically for the divisions, or is it for the election of the officers of the Senate?
I don't know.
Can you read it?
It certainly seems like it is for the divisions because it refers to division senators on this, so.
Can you read it out loud?
Well, just to give you the first section, section 1A, the president-elect, past president, or division senator shall send an electronic and print memo announcing the call for nominations, the time frame for nominations, the procedure for nominations to the constituency a minimum of 5 working days before the nomination period. Then it says, B, candidates shall be nominated during a 10-day working period following the call, and it goes through a lot of these kinds of things.
Yeah, and
exactly.
May I,
The balance
any proposal that is before you is not in any way going to affect anything because it's not official.
So
It's
this
just a
is
proposal.
not in effect now?
No,
Okay.
it is, and it may be that we're going to do one of these sort of things and see what happens, and then in the post-mortem of that, change that, honestly. This is the type of thing that should have been done earlier, but it is for the future, and all of the current ways that we are supposed to be doing things are still intact. And part of that, which I think does go off a little bit into a different area, but I think it's actually specifically for officers, but I could be wrong about that. Our committee has to meet to figure that out. But we need to write other things to formalize those procedures, and that was an effort to do that, but I think it actually it extended it took it probably farther than it needed to be right now, or at least farther than just doing something to get us compliant, if you will.
I just wanted it clear to everybody that as of now, we are still working
Yes.
on the old ones, and
Yes.
then this is something to be considered in the future. Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure they're going to be, well, but you didn't do it the way that we had been talking about. Yeah, because we had not agreed on that yet, so.
Exactly. As it is now, the divisions are responsible for selecting their senators. There's a process that we're going to have to deal with for how we do things for our officers in here, because we can't do it the old way that we were doing it. And that's part of what that process was supposed to be involved with, but it should not distract us from right now.
That is not a document that has been accepted or voted on.
Yeah, we haven't even really read it.
Instead, as division senators, you are encouraged to go back to your divisions, call for nominations in your divisions, see who wants to run for any open seat that might be open. If it's your open seat, nominate yourself. Say, I want to run again, guys, you know, and have an election, then come back here by the last meeting of this semester, letting us know who your division representatives are.
And you know, if this is too rushed, because look, it's too rushed. We shouldn't be giving this information to you now. This information should have been given to you at least a month ago, or actually at the beginning of this semester. And like the faculty awards, these things got out of people's sight as to what was supposed to be done with them. And so we want to try to figure out a way that we're going to be able to write stuff down so that people know, you know, all the processes and whatnot. And it is also completely okay for you guys, because you have received this information so late, to say we're going to handle this in our first meeting of the fall. And the people who are here for that last meeting. It's just the last half of a meeting. So if you guys need longer to do that, you also should feel like you have the ability to do that too. Does that make sense? And I think it's particularly because we have gotten you so late this information.
Okay, hold on, Brian. Here and then Mark.
What I was going to say is we redid our bylaws in United Faculty also. We had the same thing with the election. And of course, the first election went well. But you can always tell that there are things you have to do. So Pat's absolutely right. Going and doing it just the way you're doing it now, and moving ahead, and as you identify those things that go wrong, you come forward and then change them. That's what we're doing also. It works better.
Thank you. Mark.
I would just like to remind us that we agreed to keep everything to the stated times, and we have a motion that succeeded, and we've gone well over 10 minutes. So can we?
Okay, we're moving on to student use of instructional space without supervision. Michael Clyde. Mike, are you here?
I'm here.
Oh, there. I apologize. I don't know your name. Hi, I'm Gary. Pleasure to meet you. I didn't know your last name. Okay.
So we discussed this earlier in the semester, and a group of us met.
Right hand, left hand.
Group of us met, and we talked about issues related to our particular departments. Quickly, we realized everybody had unique circumstances, so we decided to go back and see what's the board policy on this, and the board policy is there in front of you. In the interest of time, I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically it says when the campus is open for business, it's open for business, and students and related people should have access to the facility. So down near the bottom, we came up with verbiage that basically puts it back for each division to set guidelines for access for their particular classrooms and lab space that fits the needs of their instructors and students. So that's what we came up with, and so we're just opening this up for you to review, and then at the next meeting, we can take your input and then revise it and then vote on it.
I was under understanding that this is the second reading.
I don't think we read it yet. Did we read it last time? Because I wasn't here.
It's the first time I'm seeing it, but I've only done it in a couple meetings.
Yeah, but I think that's a mistake.
I wasn't there.
Yeah. So.
Brian, have you seen this before?
Well, yes. I've seen this before.
In front of the Senate?
Yes.
Then this would be a second.
That's why it says it's a second read.
Okay, this is a second read then.
Because I did those two meetings ago, we didn't get to it, and last meeting I wasn't here, so we pushed it off.
No, it was it might have been 3 meetings.
Okay, this is a second reading.
It was presented. I'm sure it was presented.
Well, I was the one that presented, and I didn't, so and I wasn't. Did anybody else present it? So.
Just because it's second reading doesn't mean we have to vote. We can
Right,
accept
absolutely.
that
Sure, absolutely. It's true. Yeah, if there's no motion, there's no motion.
So, I think I can vote on it because I'm intimate with it. But if anybody else wants to read, we can hold off or we can vote on it.
I thought you should, and just because, forgive me, because I thought you presented it, because one of the things I asked was, are we sure that we have talked to Dr. Simpson about the
I did,
specific
yeah.
thing, because it wasn't line
You're
of sight.
correct.
It was.
You're correct. You are correct.
So we don't have to, but we can.
Yeah, and I did talk to Dr. Simpson. I gave this to Dr. Simpson, and he did not provide any feedback, so I'm making the assumption that it's okay, because I think if it wasn't, he would have gotten back to me.
No,
Was he still?
if we pass it, it will then go to Planning Budget Committee. If they pass it, it'll then go to PAC, and they will have to, and that's where the final authority will rest on this. Okay, and we'll be just sending it forth.
Yeah.
It won't go into effect just because we pass it.
Right, and I asked, the note I left on it for him was, this is what we're going to discuss, do you have any concerns? And I've seen him a couple of times, he's never mentioned anything, so I don't think anything jumped out at him at this point.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Pat?
Yeah, and I think that's important that we try to get feedback from people like Dr. Simpson, Karen Kant, et cetera. I would also suggest, though, that people might want to talk to their deans, because do the deans see any concerns? And the reason I'm saying that is if there are problems, that doesn't mean we have to change something because they've said it, but we might want to think about it so that if it's necessary, it can be tweaked before we go to a vote on it. They might have an issue that we're thinking, we missed something here, we need to reword it. I don't know. And it may be just fine. But I would suggest that we reach out and try and get as much agreement that this looks good as possible before we actually go to the vote.
Mark?
Like I said, well, first of all, on that point, 2 points actually, very, very well said. This is putting it in a position where the deans would be involved. This isn't prescribing a policy for divisions. This is merely saying that the divisions should determine their own policy. Because obviously every division has very different needs for supervision policies. And we determined that they shouldn't be done at the institutional level, but that the faculty and deans of a specific division should make those determinations. And so whether deans are okay with having the power to do that, we've sort of gone with the assumption that they would be. And I'm under the understanding that Bob reached out to the president and that efforts were made to get feedback this whole time. Am I correct about that?
I took this to him, this
Right.
document to him, and asked for feedback if he felt it necessary, and nothing was provided.
So
So I'm assuming that there was no issue at this point with it.
I've only been to several PBC meetings, only one PAC meeting since I've come back from medical leave, and it was never brought up in any of the meetings I've attended so far. Brian, did you? So it may not have been discussed in any of those meetings yet.
I don't think so. We don't expect that it has been.
I just have a point of clarification because you brought up the exact paragraph I was looking at. The one that really points it out to me in terms of who's making these choices based, if this was to be adapted, resolved that within their own division spaces and in consultation with their immediate management supervisor, who I'm assuming means the dean, Cypress College faculty have primacy and responsibility for setting the departmental programmatic policies and practices for independent student activities. So that sounds to me like is that an agreement with the dean, or
Well, privacy implies.
because that's where sometimes there could be a problem. The faculty may say yes, and the dean may say I don't
That's
think
sort of
so.
the point, right? Is that the faculty, we're seeking more first right of decision-making for the faculty. If the deans have some issue with that, that is to be expected. We're expecting, am I right? We're expecting some pushback from the administration on this. We're trying to give the faculty more of a seat at the table.
And as an example, Pat mentioned talking to your deans about this, so I did mention it, and instantly I was told, well, we're not going to, everything has to be locked. And so we haven't had, so that's what probably you will face in the beginning, but at least the idea is if we put this out, adopt this in some form, we now have something to come back on and say, well, this is what we want to do, we have to work through it and get it.
Maybe on something like that, we can anticipate what the concern is, and then it may be written into the policy on some of these issues.
This isn't a policy.
Mark, the resolution.
So when I read this, what it seems to me, all of you and Pat, that it's saying Cypress College faculty have primacy and responsibility for setting the departmental programmatic policies and practices for independent student activities. So but there's a consultation context with that. So what this document to me is saying that is you have primacy and responsibility as well for setting that policy, which is fine for creating that policy and practices for managing those spaces. But you also have to consult with your division dean. Do you understand what I'm saying? So ultimately, whatever primacy you take on for setting those policies and practices, you're going to have to consult with your division dean to make that work out. Do you know what I mean? You'll have, in other words, that's responsibility now you're taking on as faculty, which I'm not arguing against, but you're saying, I'm going to write up, create policy and practices, and then I have to consult with my division dean to be sure that they're, forgive me for being East Coast, copacetic, okay with that. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot, you're putting that on yourselves, which is fine, and then you'll have to consult with your division dean. So that's what I'm hearing when I read it, that I'm going to create policy, I'm going to create practices, it's going to be on paper, and then my division dean's going to look at that and go,
Yes.
yeah, but I think you need to tweak it this way. Yeah, you need to do this. I have financial responsibilities, division dean. I have security issues I have to be for equipment, for the safety of the students that I have to be concerned with, and I have to review your policy and practice to make sure that I'm not put in an untenable position. But you hear what I'm saying? That they have to create this.
And that's what I'm talking about, kind of this phrase with responsibility.
It's fine, we're going to take it on.
That may not even be legally possible, because you're talking about the primacy in terms of, the setting the programs, but are you talking about the responsibility for the outcomes on it? I don't know. I'm not saying this, but that's where. But that may be how it could be interpreted. That's why you want to work through everything.
I think it's
No,
stop.
stop.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be out of turn.
I think this is an excellent example of a motion forward. I mean, basically, what we want to do as faculty is be responsible for what we do. And our dean works with us to then work out those issues, just like you said. I mean, frankly, in health science, I'll use us for example. We have people coming in and out at all hours. We have some of our instructors working 12-hour shifts. So I know myself, I'm sometimes there at 4:30 in the morning or at 10 o'clock at night. When I'm there past the hours that the dean has set, we've talked about, how do you want us to do this? And basically, we know we've got card carriers, and we know that even if we're here after hours, which are campus hours, like after 8 o'clock, I call security. If I'm here on a Saturday, if I'm here before at 4:30, I don't want them coming, who knows how they might respond.
No, interrupt, because that's a different, I hear you, and I hear you combining the two separate issues. The issue of when we can be on campus and go to our spaces is not the same, that's not this.
But this is the primacy for right here, it says here, Cypress College faculty have primacy and responsibility for setting the program policies and for practices for independent student activity. So if you have a laboratory up there or something, you set that up.
Correct.
And your dean, we've got a big book that we do this. A lot of people we have to serve in a lot of different ways. And this is an excellent policy. That's my opinion.
Is there a motion on the floor to vote on this today, or would you like to go and discuss this more at our next meeting?
My comments, I think we ought to take this back to our own people, make sure we discuss it, even with your dean, bring it back the next meeting, and maybe then look at a vote.
Second.
Okay. Discussion on that? All those in favor say, Tanya.
Will you actually talk with your deans and get something done in regards to this, please? Because it's not just, it's us as students wanting to be able, because we're taking on a responsibility as well to be, and it says here in that last paragraph that those activities may be conducted in instructional spaces, common areas, and any other spaces that are supportive of institutional and instructional learning objectives. We're not trying to party up here.
I agree, I like that. Okay.
Question,
Joe.
do we have an electronic copy of this? Is there any?
It was
Michael?
sent out, but I can send it again.
Can you send it to Brian,
Brian has it, but I can.
And earlier than just, as soon as I get it, should I send it out so you have time to look at it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that way we can share with our deans too.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Can I speak in opposition to the motion?
Yes.
Okay. This has been in the works for like several months. I mean, remember when Mercer was in here talking about this and he had all of his students in and stuff like that. All this is punting the ball forward a few more yards so that then they can send it back to us with their, like, the administration will then demand what they want to demand of us. And if this will not happen until next fall if we set it back out again. And it won't even maybe be enacted until the following semester, right? So,
Mark, that wouldn't happen anyway because again, PBC and PAC have to deal with it.
right, okay,
They're running out of their own meetings for the semester.
Right. All this is doing is this is essentially soliciting them for feedback in an official capacity. I feel like we should not send it back to us to sort of bring back up here again and not get on the agenda for another 4 meetings and things like that.
We have about 40 seconds left on this topic. Pat?
I think it's better for us to do it ahead of time, to just send it forward and then have it all discussed in PAC or PBC and then have it come back saying we're not satisfied with it. Let's try and work out our problems ahead of time so that when we go forward, perhaps we've settled the issue and not have it all come back suddenly at the last minute.
Okay. Craig?
Let's send this now because we have one more meeting and a full agenda. And the more we can get done now, the less we have to do in our last meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to go and postpone anything on this until next meeting. Our time is up on this discussion. All those in favor of Jesse's motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay.
Nay.
We need a hand vote on this. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand, aye.
Okay, hold on one second. Sorry.
Okay, and just to clarify the motion.
Yeah.
Jesse, state your motion.
Motion is to give us time between now and next meeting to consult with our deans and our departments, then come back and do a second reading next week and vote on it.
We haven't seconded. Going to start. Brian, go ahead.
Well, who is yes for that? It's going to pass, but okay. Okay.
Nays, raise your hand.
I'm gonna switch sides.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get it?
Got it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and the motion passes or fails?
Passes.
Motion passes. Next time we'll be talking about this on our agenda.
Move to adjourn.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Abstention. Everyone have a great 2 weeks. Look forward to seeing you soon.
And we're gonna get this electronic, so.
Yes, as soon as I get it, I'll send it to you.
And Brian, I'll be back in a second. I have to go.
Thank you.
We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Abstentions? Okay, we're moving on. Public commentary. Is there anyone here to speak to public commentary? See none, we're going to move on now to faculty announcements and invitations. Brian.
I just have two. One is...
Hold on, let me get my thing set up here. You only got 2 minutes.
Something that I was actually talking to Mark about. I just want to actually commend George Isaacs in computing. Has helped Mark and I tremendously recently with the things that we have had. And we can't do our jobs without the support that they get. It's amazing how quickly they do that. The second thing, I'm sorry that the rest of them aren't here, so you can pass it along, but I want to thank the adjunct senators for the job they're doing. They got some criticism recently, and their response to that criticism was to double their efforts to try to make contact with the adjunct faculty members. And, you know, as a person who was an adjunct faculty member here for 13 or 14 years, we never had that kind of support and representation, so I just want to give you guys some kudos for that.
Very cool. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to faculty announcements and invitations? Yes.
So just a reminder, my talk in Humanities 131 is a week from today. I have additional flyers if you guys want them afterwards. Oh, there you go. So should be a good crowd. I'm expecting some good questions. I know our forensic anthropology students are going to be there, and I would expect them to give me some good questions. So.
It sounds really interesting, Greg, I got to tell you.
It's from 2 to 3 in Humanities 131. The talk itself should be about 40, 45 minutes, and then I'm allowing 15, 20 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Mark?
Jim and I, our theater dance department has the production final weekend of Midsummer Night's Dream. And it's Friday, Saturday night at 8, it's Sunday at 4. It's a lot of fun. The show runs fast. That'll make you, some people think Shakespeare, oh my God, it's going to be 3 hours. It runs about
Anything.
Just those 5 words in the language arts division.
Right. There's no reference to that anywhere in Dr. Simpson's comments.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition of the motion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
1, 2.
And the motion passes. Thank you, Pat.
And it is posted right now. I will take it down, strike that, and put it back up.
Yeah, I mean, and I've gone through Roberts, and it's really unclear. You can do this, but whether you have to do it by striking it, because we did adopt that, but it can be clarified in the later one. It's really hard to tell.
I mean, it'll be written up in this one, and then say that, I'll actually say that it was changed in some way like that, so we have some kind of reference to it.
I like that. Then it'll be in this one that people will read the change.
Right.
Okay.
And you could even put an annotation in the other one if you wanted to, but it wouldn't be necessary. But I'm not sure I would want to strike.
Yeah, I'd rather keep that as
the way
pristine
it
as it was, and then
exactly.
have this explained.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
Are there any other changes, clarifications about our minutes?
Brian, there's a typo in paragraph I. It just says towards the end, going
I'm sorry,
forward.
which page? I apologize.
Which page? Page 4.
Okay.
It just says going forward, there. I think you meant
Oh, yeah, okay.
there are.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any others? Yes.
The United Faculty, where I talked, everyone to attend the next Board of Trustees meeting.
United Faculty Report.
B.
What page is that?
Page 2B.
Okay, Board of Trustees?
Yes.
Okay.
The others?
There is one that was given to me, actually. I mentioned that something had already passed and it hasn't, and I will take care of that. It's actually the luncheon, the classified appreciation luncheon is the April 24th, not was. Debbie gave me that, and I will make that correction as well.
Good. Okay, see no others. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
about 2 hours and 10 minutes at most with intermission. The kids are having a lot of fun, and it's just such a tough assignment to chase someone you're in love with around the forest. Tough assignment to do those kids. Yeah, studio theater. Yeah, huh? It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you'll see it. It's quite amazing. Yeah, love up close. Love and broken hearts up close.
I have a bad back, so if you see me squirm around or stand up, it is not to the content of what we're speaking to. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's just me being old. Any other faculty announcements? Invitations? We're moving on now to special reports. You get 3 minutes per report. Associated students.
Yes, sir, thank you. I want to thank you all for showing up for World Fest, which was held Wednesday, April the 15th. You all came to eat the different nationalities of food. We had a great turnout today for Sex Day. I mean, it was huge. Or was that yesterday? Excuse me. I'm just carrying over. Excuse me. Yesterday for Sex Day, it was a huge turnout. We appreciate you. We're actually having we're running through our elections for this coming up semester, and whereas I will no longer be the vice president of student organizations, I'm running for the president of AS, but I intend to still show up for these meetings. I just want you to know, because I love you all. Also, on next week, it's a community event where they're tearing down Twyla Reed Park in 3 days, and that's April 29th, April 30th, and May 1st. They just need volunteers. They reached out to Cypress College for students, but I'm sure they will take bodies, just anybody that would come and help them tear it down. And on Saturday, they're building up a brand new park in 1 day. They're gonna have like 600 Disneyland employees, and they're asking for 100 volunteers to join them to do that. They will feed you breakfast and lunch. I forgot to bring the flyer, but I can email it to you, because for you to register, it's online, and they'll take care of you once you get there, but they're feeding you breakfast and lunch for that particular event. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I actually think I may have wrote that up wrong for the last minutes.
Okay.
So that day that they're building it all is also the dedication day that they're
Yes,
doing on
everything
Saturday?
in one day, yes, sir.
And then the first,
I think we're just barreling along. There's 2 agenda items later in our agenda that will reflect some or part of what we do, but we're barreling along, and we're moving to tech review of courses that were submitted in this fast timeline, so that's what we're doing. And that's it.
Thank you, Mark. Lori, treasurer's report.
No report.
Thank you, Lori. Cypress College Foundation, who's speaking for Lynn? Hi.
I'm Lynn now.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. May 1st is the deadline for submitting a mini grant application, $500 or less. May 11th is the scholarship awards ceremony, of which we just decided to make the choices. These are just reminders. If anyone has any questions about the mini grant, they can email Raul Alvarez at the foundation office. That's my completed report.
You had a question, Lynn?
I do.
Maybe I misheard you, the May 11th, that's for the student scholarships, isn't it?
That is correct.
That you said the awards we did here.
Well, I don't know. She just said it's a scholarship
I think it's
awards
okay.
ceremony.
It's a
So I may have misspoke. I just
No,
kind
it's-
of assumed that it was this same
I
thing.
believe it's when the foundation invites all the students, and then faculty who nominated them or a division could show up, present it to them on stage. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I didn't attend, but people who did attend told me last year it was a good event.
This is fun, it's good.
Yeah.
It's sweet, the parents come, it's fun.
And they cry.
Yes,
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's
we're not.
Basic Skills Committee, Cindy Schapp?
Yeah, Cindy, I saw her yesterday, and they're meeting, and she says, right now, no report. Next time, she'll have something.
Student Learning Outcomes, Sarah.
Yes, I have a couple things. I gave a presentation and led a small group discussion at the leadership meeting last Friday on the 17th of April, and that went well. The job description for the additional SLO support will be out very soon, so be looking for that.
The
there's
first
3
3
days
days,
that lead
they're
up to
tearing
that.
everything
And
down.
then, so they need help tearing it down
Yeah,
and
they
building
need
it up?
help tearing it down, and then that last day is the whole group
Okay,
of
great. Thank you.
everybody coming out to
Thank
build
you,
it up.
Tanya.
Yes, sir.
Email the flyer.
Yes.
To Brian.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And that way he'll have your email address
You know you're so
accurately.
smart, God bless you.
So-
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
United Faculty. Is anyone here representing United Faculty?
I'll represent.
Yes.
We're still in negotiations. We hope to come back with something to you guys soon. And that's all I can say about that.
Oh, I want to hear more.
That's all I can say about that.
Anything else? Thank you. Staff development, Peggy?
We have the end of the year luau coming up on May 6th. So you should have received an email invitation. You do need to RSVP by April 29th. So, and tomorrow is our classified appreciation lunch, and our last funding cycle for conference funding closed on the 17th, but our committee won't be able to review things until May 11th. So tell your constituents it could be just a little bit of time before they hear. Most of the applications we got were for summer conferences, but we can carry over funds. Yes.
I apologize, I will change you to professional development.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna, thank you. I hear from Karen Kant that it's a huge deal to change your name because every publication that the campus, so it was a clever idea, so it'll probably take us years to actually clean it up, but.
The process is going to be that we are going to go and be looking at this today, later on in our meeting.
No, we already switched the name change.
Well, we switched
It
to
has to go to
professional development, but I believe it actually has to go to
It has
PAC.
to go to PAC.
And
It's
so.
not official until PAC confirms it.
So you're gonna see that you're just gonna get stuff from all kinds of names and people
Well, so
and
then I
whatever.
should not change this.
Do not change
I
that.
guess
Until it
not.
becomes official.
That
Okay.
is correct.
Yeah.
Then I wasn't making this. I take that.
Hey, I'm not offended either way. That's
Appreciate
it.
your hard work, though.
Yeah.
Anything else, Peggy?
No, that takes care of it.
Mark, you are up.